What if a simple act of kindness could change your life in the most unimaginable way? This is the unbelievable true story of a humble woman whose compassion caught the attention of an actual royal family. You won't believe the extraordinary blessing she received, proving that genuine goodness truly has its own reward. Imagine a life of quiet humility, then suddenly finding yourself entangled with royalty in the most unexpected twist of fate. This is the captivating tale of a woman whose compassionate heart opened doors she never knew existed. Prepare to be amazed by the incredible recognition and blessings she received, all because of one simple act of kindness. Prepare to be deeply moved by a story that will restore your faith in humanity. This is the inspiring journey of a humble woman whose profound kindness didn't just touch lives, but earned her an unexpected and extraordinary blessing from a royal family. Discover how true compassion can lead to recognition beyond your wildest dreams. Alara's hands shook as she held the golden envelope with the royal seal. The palace guards stood before her small mud house in Kano village, their bright uniforms shining in the morning sun. Her neighbors peeked through their windows, whispering excitedly. But Alara could barely breathe. "You are invited to meet His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano," the guard announced loudly. "Your presence is requested immediately." Just 3 days ago, Alara was nobody special. She sold roasted corn by the roadside to feed her 3 children. She wore the same old blue wrapper every day and walked barefoot because she had no money for shoes. How did she end up holding an invitation from the royal palace? The answer lay in what happened during the worst rainstorm Kano had seen in years. 3 days earlier, the rain poured down like angry tears from the sky. Thunder crashed so loud it made the ground shake. Alara ran through the muddy streets of Kano, her empty corn basket bouncing on her head. She had sold nothing that day because of the terrible weather. "Mama, I'm hungry." Her youngest son, Aminu, had cried that morning. His stomach made loud rumbling sounds. "Don't worry, my child," Alara had whispered, though her own stomach was empty too. "Mama will find food today." But now, as the rain soaked through her thin cloth, she wondered how she would feed her children. She had no money left, not even 1 naira. As she hurried past the big mosque near the Emir's palace, she heard a sound that made her stop. Someone was crying. Not the normal kind of crying, but deep, painful sobs that came from the heart. Through the heavy rain, she saw a figure sitting alone on the mosque steps. It was an old woman, dressed in torn clothes, shivering in the cold. Her gray hair was soaked, and she held her stomach like she was in great pain. Most people would have walked past. The rain was too heavy. The night was too dark. Everyone wanted to get home quickly, but Alara was different. Even when she had nothing, she could not ignore someone who was suffering. She walked toward the old woman, her bare feet splashing in the muddy water. "Mama, what is wrong?" Alara asked gently, kneeling beside the stranger. The old woman looked up with tired eyes. "My child, I have been sick for days. I have no food, no shelter. My family, they don't want me anymore because I am too old and weak." Alara's heart broke. She knew exactly how it felt to be hungry and alone. Without thinking twice, Alara took off her own headscarf, her only good piece of clothing, and wrapped it around the old woman's wet shoulders. "Come with me," Alara said firmly. "You cannot stay here in this rain." "But child, you don't even know me," the old woman whispered. "That doesn't matter," Alara replied. "We are all God's children." Supporting the weak woman with her strong arm, Alara helped her up. Together, they walked slowly through the storm toward Alara's small house. When they reached her home, Alara's 3 children Aminu, Fatima, and Hassan stared in surprise at the stranger their mother brought home. "Children, this is our guest," Alara announced. "She needs our help." But there was a problem, a big problem. Alara had planned to cook their last handful of rice for dinner. It was barely enough for her 3 children. Now, with 4 people to feed, there would not be enough food for anyone. Her children looked at her with hungry eyes. They had not eaten all day. Aminu, only 6 years old, was so thin his ribs showed through his shirt. What should she do? Feed her own children and let the stranger go hungry? Or share the little food they had, knowing everyone would still be hungry? For a moment, Alara hesitated. Any mother would choose her own children first. But then she looked at the old woman, who was still shivering despite the dry clothes Alara had given her. The woman's eyes were closing from weakness. She looked like she might faint at any moment. Fatima, Alara called to her 10-year-old daughter. Help me prepare the rice. We will make it stretch for everyone. She boiled the small amount of rice with lots of water to make a thin porridge. She added the few vegetables she had been saving for tomorrow. It wasn't much, but it was hot and would warm their bellies. As they ate together, the old woman began to cry again. But this time, they were tears of gratitude. You have shared your last food with me, she whispered. I have never met such kindness. Food tastes better when shared with friends. Alara smiled, though her own stomach was still growling with hunger. After dinner, Alara gave the old woman her own sleeping mat. She and her children slept on the hard floor, using their clothes as blankets. The next morning, the storm had passed. The sun shone brightly, and the air smelled fresh and clean. The old woman seemed much better. Her eyes were brighter, and she could walk without help. My dear child, she said to Alara, how can I ever repay your kindness? You don't need to repay anything, Alara replied. Just get well and be happy. As the old woman prepared to leave, something strange happened. She reached into her torn pocket and pulled out a small, beautiful ring. It had a green stone that sparkled in the sunlight. Please, take this, she insisted, pressing it into Alara's hand. It belonged to my grandmother. It's the only valuable thing I have left. Alara tried to refuse. Mama, I cannot take this. You might need to sell it for food. But the old woman would not listen. You saved my life. This ring is nothing compared to what you gave me, hope and human kindness. Before Alara could protest further, the old woman hugged her tightly and walked away. She moved differently now, not like a weak, sick person, but with strength and purpose. As she reached the corner of the street, she turned back one last time. For just a moment, Alara thought she saw something different in the woman's eyes. A look of recognition, authority, but then she was gone, disappearing into the busy morning crowd. Alara looked down at the ring in her palm. It was more beautiful than anything she had ever owned. The green stone seemed to glow with its own light. Mama, it's so pretty, little Aminu exclaimed, touching the ring gently. Yes, it is, Alara agreed, but something about it made her feel uneasy. It looked too expensive, too important to belong to a poor, homeless woman. She decided to keep it safe, wrapped in a piece of cloth, hidden in her small wooden box where she kept her few precious things. That day, as Alara went to sell corn again, strange things began to happen. First, a wealthy businessman bought all her corn at twice the normal price. Your corn looks especially good today, he said with a smile. Then, a kind woman gave her a pair of shoes. I bought these for my daughter, but they're too small. Would you like them? By evening, Alara had more money than she had earned in a whole month. Her children ate well that night, with meat and vegetables and sweet mangoes for dessert. Mama, why is today so different? Fatima asked as they sat together after dinner. Alara touched the wrapped ring in her pocket. I don't know, my daughter. Sometimes God sends us blessings in mysterious ways. But the real mystery was just beginning. The next morning, Alara woke up to find her neighbor, Hajia Khadija, standing outside her door with wide, frightened eyes. Alara, she whispered urgently, there are people asking questions about you in the market. What kind of questions? Alara asked, her heart beginning to race. Important people. They're asking who helped an old woman during the storm 2 nights ago. They're asking about a woman who showed great kindness to a stranger. Alara felt dizzy. What did you tell them? I told them nothing, Hajia Khadija replied quickly. But Alara, these people, they're not ordinary people. They dress like they work for the palace. Palace? Why would anyone from the emir's palace be asking about her? Before Alara could think of an answer, she heard the sound of horses approaching. Heavy footsteps. official voices. She looked out her small window and gasped. 3 royal guards on horseback were riding slowly down her street. Behind them walked a man in white robes carrying a golden scroll. They stopped directly in front of her house. "We are looking for a woman named Alara," the man with the scroll announced loudly. "The woman who helped a stranger during the storm." Alara's children gathered behind her, scared and confused. Her neighbors came out of their houses, forming a curious crowd. I am Alara," she said softly, stepping outside. The man with the scroll looked at her carefully, as if checking her face against some description he had been given. Then he smiled and unrolled the golden paper. "By order of His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano," he read in a booming voice, "you are invited to the palace immediately. You are to be honored for an act of extraordinary kindness." The crowd gasped. Alara felt like the ground was spinning beneath her feet. "There must be some mistake," she whispered. "I am nobody special. I just helped an old woman who was sick." The guard's smile grew wider. "That, dear woman, is exactly why you are being summoned." He handed her the golden envelope with the royal seal, the same envelope she now held with trembling hands. But who was she?" Alara asked, though part of her was already beginning to understand. The guard leaned closer, his voice low but clear enough for everyone to hear. "The woman you helped, fed and sheltered," he said slowly, "was not just any old woman." He paused, letting the suspense build while the entire neighborhood held its breath. She was the Emir's own mother, the Queen Mother of Kano, who had been missing for 3 days. The royal guard's words echoed in Alara's mind as she sat in the back of the palace carriage. The Queen Mother of Kano. How could she have been so blind? How could she not have recognized the most important woman in their kingdom? Her 3 children pressed close to her on the velvet seats, their eyes wide with wonder and fear. The carriage was more beautiful than anything they had ever seen, with golden decorations and soft cushions. But Alara felt like she was riding to her doom. "Mama, are we in trouble?" Little Aminu whispered, his small hand gripping hers tightly. Before Alara could answer, the carriage began to slow. Through the window, she could see the massive walls of the Emir's palace rising before them like a mountain made of red clay and gold. "We have arrived," announced the guard. Alara's stomach twisted into knots. In all her 32 years, she had never imagined she would see the inside of the palace. Poor people like her were not supposed to walk through those gates. As they stepped out of the carriage, Alara gasped. The palace courtyard was bigger than her entire village. Fountains sparkled in the sunlight, and peacocks strutted across perfectly trimmed grass. Servants in beautiful white robes hurried back and forth, preparing for something important. "This way, please," said a palace official, bowing slightly to Alara. She had never been bowed to in her entire life. They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were covered with intricate designs in gold and blue. The floors were so shiny that Alara could see her reflection in them. She looked down at her simple green wrapper and felt embarrassed. She didn't belong here. But then something unexpected happened. As they passed through the hallways, the palace servants began to stop their work and stare. But they weren't staring with judgment or disgust. They were staring with respect. Some even smiled and nodded at her. "That's her," she heard one servant whisper to another. "That's the woman who saved our Queen Mother. Look how humble she is," whispered another.
"No fancy clothes, no pride.
Just pure kindness." Alara felt confused. She had expected to be treated like a criminal or an intruder. Instead, people were looking at her like she was someone special. They reached a large wooden door carved with beautiful patterns. The guard knocked 3 times. "Enter," came a deep, powerful voice from inside. The door opened, and Alara found herself in the most magnificent room she had ever seen. The ceiling was so high it seemed to touch the clouds. Colorful carpets covered the floor, and the walls displayed ancient swords and shields that sparkled with jewels. At the far end of the room, sitting on a throne that looked like it was made of pure gold, was a man in flowing white robes. His beard was perfectly groomed, and his eyes held the wisdom of someone who had ruled for many years. The Emir of Kano. Alara's knees went weak. She had only seen him from far away during festivals, when he appeared on his balcony to wave at the crowds. Up close, his presence was overwhelming. "Your Highness," the guard announced formally, "I present Alara, daughter of Musa, the woman who showed kindness to the Queen Mother." Alara didn't know what to do. Should she bow? Should she kneel? Should she run away? Before she could decide, the Emir stood up from his throne. To everyone's surprise, he walked down the steps toward her. "Alara," he said, and his voice was gentler than she expected. "I have been waiting to meet you. Your Highness, I didn't know," Alara stammered, finally remembering to bow deeply. "If I had known she was the Queen Mother, I would have." "You would have what?" the Emir interrupted, raising an eyebrow. Alara thought carefully. I would have given her the best room in my house instead of my sleeping mat. I would have cooked better food. I would have. You would have treated her differently because of who she was, not because of what she needed?" the Emir asked. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Alara realized this was some kind of test. "No, Your Highness," she said honestly. "I would have done the same thing. Anyone who is hungry and cold deserves help, whether they are a queen or a beggar." The Emir smiled, but Alara couldn't tell if it was a good smile or a dangerous one. "Come with me," he said. "There is someone who wants to see you." He led them through another door into a smaller, more comfortable room. Soft cushions were arranged in a circle, and the smell of jasmine filled the air. Sitting on one of the cushions, dressed in beautiful blue and gold robes, was the old woman from the storm. But she wasn't old and weak anymore. Her back was straight, her eyes were bright, and she wore a crown of silver and emeralds on her head. The Queen Mother of Kano. "My dear child," she said, rising gracefully and opening her arms to Alara. "Come here." Alara stood frozen. This was the same woman who had cried on the mosque steps, who had shivered in the rain, who had slept on her floor. But now she looked like what she truly was, royalty. "Your Majesty, I'm so sorry," Alara whispered, tears starting to flow down her cheeks. "I didn't give you proper respect. I made you sleep on the floor. I fed you simple rice like you were a common person." "Stop," the Queen Mother said firmly but kindly. She walked over and took Alara's hands in hers. "You treated me exactly as you should have. You treated me like a human being who needed help." She turned to her son, the Emir. "This woman, my son, saved my life. But more than that, she showed me something I had forgotten after years in the palace." "What is that, Mother?" the Emir asked. "True kindness doesn't ask questions first. It doesn't check someone's status or wealth before helping. It simply sees suffering and responds with love." The Queen Mother looked back at Alara with tears in her own eyes. "For 3 days, I wandered the streets of our kingdom. I was confused, sick, and lost. Hundreds of people saw me, but they all walked past. Some thought I was just a crazy old woman. Others were too busy to care. But you," she paused, her voice becoming emotional. "You gave me your headscarf. You shared your last food. You gave me your bed. You asked for nothing in return. And when I offered you my ring, the only valuable thing I had, you tried to refuse it because you thought I might need to sell it for food." Alara remembered that moment. The ring. She still had it, wrapped in cloth in her wooden box at home. "Your Majesty, I still have your ring. I can return it now," Alara said quickly. "No," the Queen Mother smiled. "That ring was my grandmother's. She always told me, give this only to someone whose heart is as pure as its stone. I have waited 60 years to find the right person." The Emir stepped forward. "Alara, do you understand what you have done?" I just helped someone who needed help," she replied honestly. "You helped the Queen Mother of Kano," he said. "But more importantly, you helped a stranger without knowing who she was. You sacrificed your own comfort for someone you had never met. This is the kind of character we need more of in our kingdom." The Queen Mother nodded. In the palace, we are surrounded by people who serve us because they have to, or because they want something from us. But you served me simply because I was a fellow human being in need. Alara felt overwhelmed. I don't understand. Am I being punished or rewarded? Both the Emir and Queen Mother laughed, not mockingly, but with genuine warmth. My dear woman, the Emir said, you are being honored. Your actions have reminded us of the values our kingdom should represent. Compassion, generosity, and kindness to all people, regardless of their status. He gestured to a servant, who brought forward a beautiful wooden chest. But Your Highness, Alara protested, I don't need any reward. I was just doing what felt right. And that, said the Queen Mother, is exactly why you deserve this. The Emir opened the chest, and Alara gasped. Inside were gold coins, beautiful jewelry, and rolls of the finest cloth she had ever seen. This is enough to ensure that you and your children never go hungry again, the Emir explained. You can build a better house, start a business, send your children to the best schools. Alara stared at the treasure, but instead of joy, she felt worried. Your Highness, this is too much. I cannot accept such wealth. What will my neighbors think? What will happen to me? The Queen Mother understood her concern. You are worried that sudden wealth will change you, or make others treat you differently. Yes, Alara admitted. I am just a simple woman. I don't know how to be rich. The Emir exchanged a meaningful look with his mother. Then he smiled in a way that made Alara nervous. That is why we have another proposal for you, he said slowly. Something that will help you use this gift wisely, while also serving our kingdom. What do you mean? Alara asked cautiously. The Queen Mother leaned forward. We want you to become the director of royal charity for Kano State. The words hit Alara like a thunderbolt. Director of what? You will be responsible for finding and helping people in need throughout our kingdom, the Emir explained. You will travel to villages, identify families who are struggling, and use royal resources to help them, just as you helped my mother. Alara's head spun. But I can't read well. I've never had an important job. I don't know anything about being a director. You know the most important thing, the Queen Mother said gently. You know how to recognize genuine need, and you know how to respond with genuine love. These are skills that cannot be taught in schools. The Emir continued, you will have assistants to help with reading and writing. You will have advisors to help with planning. But the heart of the work, identifying who truly needs help and how to help them, that will be your responsibility. Alara looked at her children, who were listening with wide eyes and open mouths. This opportunity could change their entire lives. But something still worried her. Your Highness, what if I make mistakes? What if I'm not good enough? What if I disappoint you? The Queen Mother reached over and touched Alara's cheek gently. My dear child, do you think you made any mistakes when you helped me? I don't know. Maybe I should have done more. You shared everything you had with a stranger. You put her needs above your own comfort. You treated her with dignity and respect. If those are mistakes, then they are the kind of mistakes our kingdom needs more of. The Emir stood up, his decision made. Will you accept this position, Alara? Will you help us spread the same kindness you showed to our mother throughout all of Kano? Alara looked around the magnificent room, at the treasure chest, at the royal family who was offering to change her life forever. Just a week ago, she had been worried about having enough money to buy rice. Now she was being offered a position of honor and responsibility. But then she thought about all the people in her village who struggled just as she had struggled. She thought about mothers who went to bed hungry so their children could eat. She thought about old people who had no one to care for them. If she could help them the way she had helped the Queen Mother. Yes, she said quietly. Then, with more confidence, yes, Your Highness, I accept. The Queen Mother clapped her hands with joy. The Emir smiled broadly and called for his advisors. Excellent, he declared. Tomorrow, we will begin planning your new role. Tonight, you and your children will stay here in the palace as our honored guests. As servants led them to beautiful guest rooms, Alara felt like she was living in a dream. But as they walked through the corridors, she overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. Two palace officials were talking in hushed voices behind a pillar. "Are you sure about this decision?" one was saying. "Giving such an important position to a corn seller?" "The emir seems convinced," replied the other. "But mark my words, she'll fail within a month. Poor people don't understand how to handle responsibility. This will end in disaster. And when it does," the first official said with a cruel smile, "we'll be there to clean up the mess and take control of the charity program ourselves." Alara's heart sank. She had been so focused on the honor and opportunity that she hadn't considered the political dangers of her new position. As she tucked her children into the most comfortable beds they had ever slept in, one terrifying question echoed in her mind. Had she just walked into a trap that could destroy not only her new life, but her family as well? 6 weeks had passed since Alara became the director of royal charity, and the whispers in the palace corridors had grown louder and more vicious. "She's given away too much money to the wrong people," complained Alhaji Musa, the former head of palace finances, as he paced angrily in his office. "That woman will bankrupt the royal treasury within a year." His ally, Maulam Ibrahim, nodded gravely. "The emir must be made to see reason. A corn seller cannot handle such responsibility. We need to act before she causes real damage." What they didn't know was that their real damage had actually transformed lives across Kano State. In the village of Ungogo, Mama Hawa could finally afford medicine for her sick grandson because Alara had visited personally and ensured the family received monthly support. In Dala, young Aisha was attending school for the first time because Alara had created a scholarship program for girls from poor families. But the palace officials only saw numbers on paper, numbers that didn't match their expectations of how charity should work. That morning, as Alara reviewed requests for help in her new office, her assistant Fatima, not her daughter, but a palace secretary, knocked urgently on her door. "Madam Alara, there's a problem," Fatima said, her voice tight with worry. "Alhaji Musa has requested an emergency meeting with the emir. He wants to review all your spending decisions." Alara's heart skipped a beat. She had been expecting this day, but that didn't make it less frightening. "When is the meeting?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "This afternoon. And madam—" Fatima hesitated. "There are rumors that he has evidence of irregularities in your work." Alara knew exactly what kind of evidence men like Alhaji Musa could create. In her 6 weeks as director, she had learned that palace politics could be more dangerous than the worst storm. She had also learned something else. The real test of her character was just beginning. 3 hours before the meeting, Alara stood in the courtyard where she had first met the Queen Mother 6 weeks ago, but now she wasn't alone. Around her gathered dozens of people, men, women, and children who had traveled from across Kano State. They had come because word had spread about Alhaji Musa's attempt to remove Alara from her position. They had come to defend the woman who had changed their lives. "Madam Alara," called out Baba Sul, an elderly farmer from Kambatso, "my whole family would have starved this season if you hadn't helped us buy seeds and farming tools. Now we have the best harvest in years." "She saved my daughter's life," added Mama Zainab from Terayuni, holding up a healthy-looking little girl. "When the hospital said we needed money for surgery, Madam Alara didn't just send money. She came personally to make sure everything was done properly." A young man named Yusuf stepped forward. "I was a street beggar before she found me. Now I have a job in the new vocational training center she created. I can read and write because of her programs." As Alara listened to their stories, tears filled her eyes. She had been so worried about palace politics that she had almost forgotten the real impact of her work. But her moment of warmth was interrupted by a harsh voice. "Very touching," sneered Alhaji Musa, who had appeared at the courtyard entrance with several other officials. "But good intentions don't excuse financial recklessness." He walked toward Alara with a thick folder in his hands, his eyes cold and calculating. "These people," he continued, gesturing dismissively at the crowd, "don't understand that charity must be managed efficiently. They don't see the bigger picture. And what picture is that? Alara asked, her voice stronger than she felt. Alhaji Musa smiled like a snake. The picture where royal resources are distributed according to proper procedures, not emotional whims. The picture where qualified administrators make decisions, not. He paused deliberately. Former corn sellers. The insult hung in the air like poison. Several people in the crowd began to speak angrily, but Alara raised her hand for silence. You're right about one thing, Alhaji Musa, she said calmly. I was a corn seller. I know what it's like to go to bed hungry. I know what it's like to choose between medicine and food. I know what it's like to feel invisible and unimportant. She stepped closer to him, her voice growing firmer. And that's exactly why I can do this job better than someone who has never experienced real need. We'll see about that, Alhaji Musa replied coldly. The emir is waiting. The royal council chamber. The magnificent council chamber was packed with palace officials, advisors, and dignitaries. At the head of the room, the emir sat on his throne with the queen mother beside him. Their faces were unreadable. Alara entered with her head high, followed by her supporters from the courtyard. The contrast was striking. On one side sat the wealthy, well-dressed palace officials. On the other stood farmers, craftsmen, mothers, and children in simple clothes. Your Highness, Alhaji Musa began formally. I have requested this meeting to address serious concerns about the management of our royal charity program. He opened his thick folder and began reading numbers and dates in a voice designed to sound official and intimidating. In 6 weeks, Director Alara has spent 40% more than the allocated budget. She has bypassed standard approval procedures 127 times. She has personally visited beneficiaries instead of managing from the office, wasting valuable time and resources. Murmurs of concern rippled through the palace officials. Furthermore, Alhaji Musa continued, she has created new programs without proper authorization, vocational training centers, girls' education scholarships, medical support funds, none of which were in the original charter. He turned to face Alara directly. Your Highness, I submit that this woman, despite her good intentions, lacks the experience and judgment necessary for such an important position. I respectfully request that she be replaced with a more qualified administrator. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the emir, waiting for his response. But before the emir could speak, the queen mother stood up. Alhaji Musa, she said, her voice carrying the authority of decades. You speak of procedures and budgets and qualifications, but tell me, what is the purpose of royal charity? The question seemed to catch him off guard. To help the people of Kano, Your Majesty. And has Director Alara helped the people of Kano? Well, yes, but not in the proper way. Baba Sul, the queen mother called suddenly to the elderly farmer in the crowd. Stand up and tell us about your harvest. The old man rose shakily to his feet. Your Majesty, this year I grew more crops than in the last 5 years combined. My family eats well now, and we even have surplus to sell in the market. And how did this happen? Madame Alara came to our village personally. She didn't just send money. She brought agricultural experts to teach us better farming methods. She arranged for quality seeds and tools. She even helped us organize a cooperative so we could sell our crops for better prices. The queen mother nodded. Mama Zainab, tell us about your daughter. The woman stood up, still holding her healthy child. Your Majesty, my daughter had a hole in her heart. The doctor said she would die without surgery, but we had no money. Madame Alara not only paid for the surgery, she stayed with us at the hospital for 3 days to make sure everything went well. She held my hand when I was scared. One by one, the queen mother called on people to share their stories. Each tale revealed not just the financial help Alara had provided, but the personal care, the dignity, the hope she had restored to people's lives. Finally, she turned back to Alhaji Musa. You say she spent 40% more than the budget. But tell me, what is the value of a child's life? What is the worth of a family's dignity? How do you calculate the cost of hope? Alhaji Musa opened his mouth to respond, but the queen mother wasn't finished. You say she bypassed procedures. But when a child is dying, should we wait for paperwork to be processed? When a family is starving, should we hold committee meetings to discuss whether they deserve help? The palace officials began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. You say she lacks qualifications, the Queen Mother continued, her voice rising with passion. But I ask you, what qualification is more important than a heart that recognizes suffering and responds with love? She walked down from the throne platform and stood directly in front of Alhaji Musa. 6 weeks ago, I was lost, sick, and alone on the streets of our city. Hundreds of people saw me, educated people, wealthy people, people with impressive qualifications. They all walked past. The room was completely silent now. But one woman stopped. One woman saw a fellow human being in need and responded immediately, without checking my credentials or asking for references. That woman shared her last food with me. She gave me her own bed. She treated me with dignity when I had nothing to offer in return. The Queen Mother's voice became softer but more powerful. That woman has now brought the same compassion to her work as director. She has touched more lives in 6 weeks than the previous charity program touched in 6 years. She turned to address the entire room. The question before us today is not whether Ilara has perfect administrative skills. The question is whether we want our charity program to be an efficient bureaucracy or a genuine expression of royal compassion. The Emir finally stood up. His voice, when he spoke, carried absolute authority. Alhaji Musa, your concerns about procedures and budgets are noted. But the Queen Mother is right. We must measure success by lives changed. Share your thought about the story and also comment part 2 below.